in our textbooks, in our history classes, hindi ganun nabibigyan ng emphasis ang dictatorship, ang Marcos dictatorship, and also the EDSA People Power Revolution. Of course, given the rise of social media na rin, napakarami rin disinformation, and we would like to ask all our history, Filipino social science teachers, educators inside and outside the classroom to give our students, our Filipino students the facts. Dapat yung mga guru natin na hindi matakot to teach about these things as these are part of history. At wala tayo dapat takot na ituro ang EDSA People Power and the Marcos dictatorship sa classrooms natin.
From the nation's capital, all sides, all the time, I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. The big story tonight.
On her 6th year in detention, former Senator Leila de Lima is asking a Muntinlupa court to dismiss one of the two pending drug cases against her. Here's what we know. De Lima's move comes after former Bureau of Corrections officer in charge, Rafael Ragos, completed his testimony in court, taking back all the allegations against De Lima. Ragos was formerly a key witness of the prosecution who claimed he personally delivered De Lima's share of the Bilibid drug money to her house in Parañaque in 2012. In a 33-page motion, De Lima, through her lawyer Teddy Esteban de Goroso, urged the Muntinlupa City Regional Trial Court, Branch 204, to dismiss the case due to lack of evidence and to order the release of De Lima and her co-accused Ronnie Dayan.
In the motion, De Lima's lawyer also argued that Ragos' quote, consistent, clear, and categorical retraction left no room for doubt that the alleged delivery of 10 million pesos to De Lima was fabricated and manufactured, supposedly invented by former Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre II. In February 2021, the Muntinlupa RTC Branch 205 junked one of the three drug cases against De Lima, and the hearings for the two remaining cases are currently ongoing. In a separate statement, De Lima said it has been 6 years of fighting the good fight, calling it the most important years of her life. The former senator also believes that her vindication is about to happen and that she will soldier on.
Now let's further discuss former Senator Leila de Lima's motion for case dismissal. We have with us Attorney Dino De Leon live via Zoom. He is the legal counsel for Leila de Lima. Good evening. Welcome to the Big Story, Attorney.
Good evening, Robbie and Gretchen, and to all our viewers.
Attorney, today actually marks the 6th year in detention of Senator de Lima. Notwithstanding everything that she has gone through, would you say that at this point, she and you are at the most confident you've been?
Well, definitely right from the day one, we've been confident, but this is the most confident we've been considering all the developments in the case, which pushed us to actually file the supplemental motion for bail. Actually, we've been praying for outright dismissal since May 2022 in light of the recantation of the most important witness of the prosecution, Rafael Ragos.
Yeah, well, you've been waiting. You've been doing it since May, as you said. Now that the motion is there, how long do you expect it to take before the Muntinlupa court acts on your petition?
Now, let me clarify that this is a supplemental motion.
Okay.
That means that the motion has been there since last year, but we've supplemented it because Rafael Ragos was able to already complete his testimony. So he was put in the witness stand. His testimony, his recantation was tested by the prosecution. In fact, he was cross-examined for a total of around 5 times, 5 settings. That was in October 28, November 4, December 2, January 27, and February 10. And if you're going to take a look at it, his testimony was consistent, was categorical. And that's the reason why we pushed for the supplemental motion. Hopefully, considering that this is just a supplement, the Honorable Court would be able to resolve the bail petition at the soonest possible time.
Leila de Lima says vindication is about to happen. Given the political climate right now, what do you think does the senator have going for her? And given everything, how compelling is either the reason for the state to finally dismiss or at least release the former senator?
Well, aside from the fact that the truth is with former Senator Laila de Lima, and if I just saw your the video a while ago from TV5 and One News, trying to recollect exactly how former Senator Laila de Lima was arrested. And right from the very start, she said that she will shoulder on. She will continue with the fight precisely because the truth is on her side. So that's the biggest reason why we think she's going to be freed soon. But secondly, we know for a fact that the political climate is better right now, considering that the Marcos administration did not have to inherit these lies of the previous Duterte administration. This is the greatest frame-up in Philippine history. The only reason why this was launched by the Duterte administration was because they were trying to silence former Senator Laila de Lima and prevent her from actually doing her job and questioning the drug war. So the climate is now right. Considering that the Marcos administration had nothing to do with the filing of the case. It's just a question of whether or not they will push through with it, and they don't have any political incentive whatsoever to actually inherit a big problem and a quibble with the international community and the other democratic nations at that.
How do these, you have a pending petition for bail for Senator De Lima, and then a few days ago, as we discussed, the Department of Justice was encouraging you to go ahead and file a writ to have her released. How do these developments affect either of those options?
Well, it does not affect the option of actually filing a writ subsequently, assuming that this supplemental bail will not be granted. What is clear is if the Secretary of Justice or the Department of Justice is really serious in pushing through with his statement that he will not oppose these things, then maybe they should not oppose the supplemental bail motion and instead actually affirm or in fact even support the same, considering that they're saying and considering their recent memorandum circular that I talked about as well around 2-3 days ago, that if there is no strong evidence of guilt, then they should be withdrawing the case. So this is the golden opportunity for the Department of Justice to actually follow through with their word, and that is maybe not to oppose this supplemental bail motion or even support it in light of the circumstances and in light of the fact that they had every opportunity to actually cross-examine the testimony of Rafael Ragos or the recantation of Rafael Ragos. The recantation of Rafael Ragos was clear and categorical. He was coerced by Secretary Aguirre, which is why his recantation, his testimonies were piecemeal, unti-unti. In varying forms and in the affidavits, para bang inunti-unti yung mga allegations and accusations against Senator Laila de Lima. In fact, yung piecemeal testimonies na yon was very, very clear because of the fact that he was actually initially a co-accused in criminal case 165. And nag-testify lang siya categorically against Senator Laila de Lima when he was dropped as an accused. That is consistent with his testimony that he was actually intimidated and coerced by no less than former Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre, which exemplifies that the state actually used its entire machinery and its awesome powers to persecute Laila de Lima and to coerce witnesses against her.
Attorney, one last question. Given that narrative and that timeline, assuming that everything goes as you intend and as you expect, what down the line might be any accountability on the part of the former Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre if these assertions of coercion do in fact get proven in court?
Well, to begin with, what we're praying is not just bail. In this particular case, we've prayed for outright dismissal. And our argument is the fact that the state actually used its entire machinery against Senator Laila de Lima, which shows that there is a failure in the administration of justice here. Now, what would be the accountability of these people? Let's also remember that ang description mismo ni Rafael Ragos, no, during that time, It was like and I quote, esprit de corps against Senator Laila de Lima. Everyone was ganging up on her. And this was led by Vitaliano Aguirre, and that he was named by their own witness. So what should be his accountability? Well, everything, no, apart from the fact that it's criminal to actually manufacture evidence, to actually prevent the proper administration of justice or compromise the justice system. Hindi lang yan criminal cases, hindi lang yan administrative case sa pagiging abogado niya because he is going against his oath as a lawyer and as an officer of the court, no? So administrative yan, criminal yan, civil yan, and in due course, no, dapat panagutin niyang si Vitaliano Aguirre and everyone na nagpagamit dito sa pinakamalaking flame-up in history nito.
Okay, Attorney De Leon, maraming salamat po. One of the alleged suspects in the robbery and killing of New Zealand tourist Nick Stacey has surrendered to authorities. John Marnagum surrendered in Pasig hours after police released a photo of him with a reward of $500,000 pesos for information leading to his arrest. But the suspect says he did not kill the foreigner and only surrendered out of fear for his life. Several witnesses, however, have identified him as one of the robbers who shot the tourist. Nagum is now facing a complaint for robbery with homicide while authorities are still tracking down the other alleged suspect in the killing.
Tibay na kasi na yung affidavit ng ating mga witnesses para magpatunay na siya talaga yung gunman dito sa New Zealander. Nakita nila mismo yung taong ito at nagkaroon tayo ng investigasyon. So pumunta tayo sa lugar, inalam natin kung sino yung mga tao na naroon nung mangyari yung krimen.
The remains of the 4 passengers of the Cessna plane that crashed on the slope of Mayon volcano have yet to be brought down. Rough terrain and the current weather situation around Mayon is hampering the trip down. Kamalig Town Mayor Caloy Baldo said responders have also recovered the belongings of the victims, which were scattered all over the crash site. CAAP spokesperson Eric Apolonio meanwhile said that they will now be focusing on the investigation on the cause of the accident.
Tayong dapat na ay itingnan, yung weather, yung mechanical also. We'll see, makikita naman yan sa resulta ng investigation. Bakit napunta sila doon sa particular area? Knowing naman na expert pilot ito at alam naman niya na may NOTAM.
The historic revolution which overthrew the administration of Ferdinand Edralin Marcos marks its 37th anniversary tomorrow, February 25. A survey by the Social Weather Station says that Filipinos have not forgotten the 1986 EDSA People Power Revolution. The survey shows that 6 in 10 Filipinos still believe that the spirit of EDSA revolution lives on. But the data also shows that 42% of those surveyed said the annual commemoration of the event is not important anymore. Numbers which members of the University of the Philippines faculty attribute to disinformation.
Na dapat yung mga guru natin na hindi matakot to teach about these things as these are part of history. At wala tayo dapat takot na ituro ang EDSA People Power and the Marcos dictatorship sa classrooms natin.
Right after the break. Is the current cost of getting a driver's license too high? We will be speaking with Pampanga Representative Ana Bondok regarding this when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News. watching The Big Story here on One News.
Planning to get a driver's license? Well, fair warning, securing one has become more expensive these days, according to complaints of some newbie drivers. Here's what we know. The Land Transportation Office says they will only charge 250 pesos for a student permit, 685 pesos for a regular non-professional driver's license. This means obtaining a driver's license should only cost less than 1,000 pesos. While this doesn't sound like a hefty amount, it's a different story when you add the cost of enrolling in a driving school. Now, back in 2019, driving schools had an agreement with the LTO that the mandatory 5-hour theoretical driving courses will not exceed 2,500 pesos, while the mandatory 8-hour practical driving courses should only be at around 4,000 to 5,000 pesos. That should amount to about 7,500 pesos in total. But because of inflation, driving school fees have also increased. While some schools still charge the regular 5,000 pesos, others are asking fees of up to 20,000 pesos. In response, LTO Chief J.R. Tugade said the agency will form a committee to review the guidelines of driving schools. He says the group will be looking into reasons causing fee buildup. Pampanga Representative Ana York Bondoc, meanwhile, filed a resolution also calling for an investigation on what is behind the higher cost of a driver's license in the country.
To talk to us more about the higher cost of driver's licenses, we have with us on the show Pampanga Representative Ana York Bondoc. She is joining us live via Zoom. Welcome to The Big Story.
Thank you, Gretchen. Thank you, Robbie. And sa lahat na nanonood ng One News, The Big Story, good evening.
Well, first of all, we saw the higher fees. Has anything changed with our processes, or is this, just fuel surcharge? Bakit po ba nagtaas?
Ganito po, the average fee now for a new driver's license, non-pro. For example, you're 18 years old, gusto mo kumuha ng bagong lisensya. The average fee is now between 9,000 to 12,000 pesos. Nalaman ko to because I was paying for my 3 employees. Na sabi ko, sasagutin na lang ng kumpanya yung kanilang license fee. And then my office manager wrote, Ma'am, 30,000 po. So nagulat ako, sabi ko, I was expecting po mga 2,500 ganon. I was really shocked to find out it's 9,000. So I posted it on Facebook. Nilagay ko, totoo po bang 9,000 na po ang bagong driver's license? And I got more than 500 comments. In fact, my office manager paid 12,000. May iba, 15,000 pa. So a driver's license, parang gintong lisensya na to, no? A driver's license is essential because that is, number one, a very much accepted government ID. At saka ito yung pathway talaga sa employment. Merong Grab driver, company driver, family driver, jeepney driver, bus driver. So hindi po sila, 10,000 and above is too much to steep po talaga. So anti-poor talaga ito. Kaya po kami nag-hire na resolution sa Kongreso to find out what started this, and most importantly, paano po natin mapapababa po ang fee ng driver's license.
What would be reasonable for fees? What would be a reasonable level you would say? You mentioned 10,000. Is that necessarily it? But more importantly, whatever that level is, how do we keep to that level? Do we allow market forces to just come into play or regulation?
Wala pong market force dito eh. It's a cartel. Every driving school is charging, upon investigation, ano parang magpapamahal. It's actually the driving school. Kasi the theoretical driving course is 2,500 pesos. Meron pang 3,500. And then the practical driving po, and some people don't even drive, they just pay for the certificate. It costs between 3,000 to 7,000 pesos. So put together, lumalabas kang 10K.
Okay, it's been a long time since I got my own driver's license. Can you take us through? I mean, is this something that's actually required? Pag marunong ka na mag-drive, kailangan mo mandaanan lahat ng mga school na yon.
Yes, actually dati, di ba, nung nagpapanisensya tayo, and a lot of people, they learn from their kamag-anaks, their kuya, their daddy. Then they just take the driving test. Okay na, basta nakapasa ka. In 2019, nakapasa yung RA 10930. Yun yung letting the driver's license become 10 years. unfortunately, na-require ngayon everybody to take a driving school. So whether you know or not, kailangan. And this became one source po ng pagtaas po ng presyo.
I
So
see.
it's actually the requirement to have a driving school certificate. Ang gusto po namin, what I'm suggesting is, dagdagan po yung testing. If you pass the test, then no need that driving school.
Yes.
Ngayon, kung 5 times ka nang lumagpak, then maybe that's the time na kailangan mag-enroll.
So, I mean, just to be clear, so when you look into this for purposes of legislation, you're looking at this not necessarily just limiting to, how do we control the prices, but also the very concept of requiring driving schools.
Yes. Kasi why, ang suggestion po ng marami talaga, I read the entire Facebook thread from aparito ko talaga yung reklamo. Marami nagsabi, wala namang masama. I think it was made para maging mas safe or road safety. But I think what's important is makapasa ka na exam. If you pass the exam, since you're a competent driver, no need na to enroll. Ngayon, if you keep failing, then that's the time that you need to enroll. So yun po yun. Did you know, Robbie and Gretchen, pati yung tricycle, meron ng tricycle driving school. 3-5 po yun.
Wow.
Sa motor po, ganun din po ba?
Yeah, sa motor, meron din. There's a motorcycle driving school. And lahat tayo, whether you know how to ride your motor or not, kailangan mong magbayad.
Okay, you mentioned cartels. Are all of these driving schools outsourced, or do we have resources in the LTO to actually conduct these courses within the agency?
Konti lang po, they actually buy in with TESDA, but majority of the driving schools are actually private. So, just to take note, before 2019, there were 2 driving schools in Pampanga. Nung naging requirement na po si driving school, ngayon po 33. So may kumikita po talaga.
Alright. Buti na lang, may lisensya na tayo ngayon. Lahat nagtataasan na. Maraming salamat. Thank you so much for joining us, Pampanga Representative Ana York Bondo.
The Justice Department is seeking to prohibit court settlements in cases of incestuous rape or rape within the family. Marlene Alcaide with the details.
The Justice Department expresses alarm over the rising cases of incestuous rape in the Philippines. Just this week, police arrested this 31-year-old man after his cousin accused him of rape. And last January, the NBI arrested this man for allegedly raping his own 12-year-old daughter. The victim's mother supposedly advised her daughter not to tell anyone about the incident, but the victim told her school about it, leading to the arrest of her father. Authorities also filed charges against the minor's mother. Dr. Bernadette Madrid of the Child Protection Network Foundation said cases of incestuous rape in the country are high and alarming. Victims of incestuous rape refer to people molested by their own family members.
We're just talking about PGH, isang child protection unit lang yon, no? So every day we have at least 8 new cases of child sexual abuse. So, and to think that this is under-reporting. This is part of the less than 1% who report. So kung talagang magre-report yung lahat na biktima, actually we will be overwhelmed because we're talking about millions. This is really a problem. We're not exaggerating.
Though cases are alarming, the topic is still very much taboo and is not being discussed enough. In 2020, online sexual abuse and exploitation of children in the Philippines increased.
Not talked about, frowned upon, but kept to themselves. And it happens among the very rich and the very poor. Incest. We must start talking about it.
It's estimated that 2 million Filipino children have experienced grave online child sexual abuse and exploitation. Ganun kalala yung ating problema.
With this, Justice Secretary Remulla considers addressing incestuous rape an emergency.
Dapat dito, iba talaga ang trato natin dito. Nasa state of emergency na tayo when it comes to child sexual abuse.
Remulla met with other government agencies to find solutions on the matter.
Ito'y isasangguni namin sa Court Administrator at marahil susulat kami sa Chief Justice upang magkaroon ng guidelines ang Korte Suprema sa mga courts natin, sa mga korte natin na huwag pumayag sa aregluhan ng ganito mga kaso.
For those who are victims of incestuous rape and want to seek assistance, you may visit the CPN website or contact the PGH helpline number flashed on your screens. For News 5, Marlene Alcaide, we are One News.
Right after the break, we'll get the latest on the much-anticipated match between Gilas versus Lebanon as they seek to end their qualifiers campaign on a high note. That when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching the big story here on One News. Gilas Pilipinas exacted sweet revenge after beating Lebanon 107-96 in the sixth and final window of the FIBA World Cup qualifiers. The national team started off hot with early threes, courtesy of Junmar Fajardo and CJ Perez. Naturalized player Justin Brownlee also gave a show, with Gilas staying ahead of the Cedars throughout. Malonzo exploded in the third quarter, ending with 15 points, while Ateneo big man Mason Amos did not disappoint in his Gilas debut, scoring 11 in the third off the bench. Lebanon tried to tip the game in the fourth, but lost steam against Gilas, who's hungry for payback though both teams have already secured slots in the World Cup. FIBA World Cup 2023 Global Ambassador Carmelo Anthony also caught the action on courtside. The 10-time NBA All-Star joins Luis Scola and Pau Gasol in promoting the World Cup, which will tip off on August 25. Melo, who took a short tour around Manila as FIBA ambassador, said he looks forward to seeing what Filipino talents have to offer in the games to come.
What you guys have established here in the Philippines as far as development goes, that's something that intrigues me. I'm looking forward to just, seeing the new talent that's coming around as well, right? And the younger guys that's being a part of the FIBA World Cup.
Now, are you one of those getting ready for a trip to Baguio this weekend? Major roads of the summer capital are expected to be filled with crowds of locals and tourists this long weekend, as various activities are being lined up for the Panagbenga. One of these is the iconic Grand Float Parade that will take place on Sunday. Students have also been busy preparing for their cultural presentations. More than 1 million tourists are expected to visit the City of Pines this weekend. So for those who also want to join the festivities, well, as usual, expect heavy traffic. Now, before we go, tomorrow will mark the 37th anniversary of the EDSA People Power Revolution. And just in time, a new version of Jim Paredes' EDSA anthem, Handog ng Pilipino sa Mundo, has been released. The remake of the 1986 song features a modern arrangement, video treatment, and a rap portion.
Among the performers include Paredes himself, Boboy Garovillo, The Company, Between Escalante, Noel Cabangon, Pinky Marquez, Celeste Legaspi, and Mitch Valdez. Aside from these veteran singers, the remake also features theater artists, drag queens, as well as children who each sang lines from the iconic anthem. Let's listen in to the modern take of the EDSA anthem.
Pangliwanag sa dilim, di ako papayag, maniig ang dilim. Di ako nanahilig ng ingay na sinungaling. Walang nagaganap sa aming bayan.
And that's the big story tonight. For more updates, follow News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World Online. You may also log on to onenews.ph for more analysis. I'm Robbie Alampay.
The big story is also available via Signal Play app. Make a free account now at signalplay.com and stream One News anytime, anywhere. I'm Gretchen Ho. Stay safe, Philippines.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.